we're gonna shut down and get started with this stuff. So we'll have another meeting in a couple of weeks.
Okay,
We'll
Well, that's
vote
what I-
on it then.
that's what I was worried about, if we didn't,
Yeah.
if we didn't have another budget meeting, then I'm SOL, but.
Yeah, we'll have one.
We're like,
And there'll be more than a budget, there will be multiple things, so.
We are,
it's open, because we got too many board members not playing.
Yeah. The past coming, we just sent him an invite and he said he'd rather just like end
Hey,
date.
Kevin.
We were kind of having a three. And then whenever the next time is that you meet, even if that's not till the meeting time, stamp it at that time, but we can't start spending until IDOT has approved. It has anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks.
okay,
So,
no, actually, I kind of,
So we wanna get it passed.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about.
So we'll go ahead and have
There's a
it.
couple of them too.
Oh, I'll put it on so we don't
Man, I looked at Allison, I looked right at it,
Right down the line.
and I knew I had that, I used to get it.
It's so easy to forget something.
She said. Usually, boy, if I got something, I'm right on it.
Yeah,
I blew that one off.
well, I missed.
Oh,
So,
Kenny said we can get her done, so.
So we have,
yeah, we will.
And, everything should be there, it's labeled and everything. I think there's 3 or 4 copies in there.
We're gonna have Pat on tonight,
yeah.
and then if we have any more questions, we'll ask him.
Well, about dying and
I think we're interesting.
it's my electrical trying to do.
I have one there, so hopefully I think that works, so. I actually do.
Was there a preliminary from okay,
Anyone had a question?
Okay,
Yeah, the ordinance is.
Ready?
Getting a new roof, I see.
No, I already got one last year.
Oh, what do you have up there? Don't you have somebody underneath now?
No, it's 2 doors down.
Is it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
they, I don't know why they said we are getting a new roof this year, but.
Is that us or lay down the other stuff?
It's, just next door to, is it Kathy and Matthew? Yes.
Next door to my daughter?
Yes,
Okay.
it is a niece, sort of. Yes,
That's his name. That's my daughter.
sorry, family relationships are.
Hey.
Oh, they look good today.
Whatever that is, now somebody called me. But they were on yesterday too. We did that yesterday, but they. White Sox were playing Asian. And they were talking about the roof. Like, the roof is the White Sox. Yeah. They tell me what they got. Crazy says, we need him back.
Yeah.
Everybody did. And then bad year is my coach of the Angels. Right. And then, yeah.
Right.
Not that long ago, it wasn't like that. Yeah.
You got any not that.
Up the house and the other- So the other person leaving,
No, I didn't, I'm saying I will.
yeah, they're gonna have to shore up a little bit, they're gonna have to figure that out. for you now.
Yeah, everything else that we talked about.
They played, Played Milwaukee tomorrow. That'll be, that'll be good.
How are you, sir?
You know what, you can't do it any better than that. I was gonna say, that's kind of a great info. Worse than that.
We still have to hold discussion. I mean,
Lay it down, lay down.
the ordinance.
They're gonna,
I'm sorry, I missed the
they're
meeting.
gonna live in.
That's all right.
I have a new phone system.
Yeah, that's fine. We're
No
gonna-
longer reliable.
Gotcha.
And it's later than the other system.
Sure.
I didn't see it till one, so.
No worries. Yeah, I probably can stay 2 years. No trouble. Maybe too much. We just talked about a lot of stuff and didn't make a lot of progress, but we talked about a lot of things.
Okay. Like I said, I.
So I don't have a lot of updates, so it'll be.
Well, no matter, they need to
I saw you got more.
take that.
Well, yeah, that's why That was our, that was one of our goals.
Yeah.
So it didn't get forgotten.
That's what I was gonna ask, how many there were. Oh, man, might as well gotten that. Yeah. But you wouldn't be able to use your driveway.
I probably put it out back.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's why I've always done it by truckload at a time, because if they dump it in the driveway, it's stuck for a week.
What do you get, how much do you get on that pickup truck?
I can get 2 yards.
Did you get 2 yards on that? That's what they're putting on mine, that's most like that, 2.5.
You know,
I've got a 6.6, but what size is it?
it's arched up, so I haven't watered it down. And as long as I can drive 55 or 60, that's long. Yeah. I will unlikely lose a little bit. It's real insignificant. What everybody, just a reminder, if you want to speak during the open session portion of the meeting, you need to sign a sign-up sheet that's there on the podium. So I will pick that up at 7 o'clock. We're never all here this ready this early. Yeah, it is beautiful. Got 3 minutes.
My phone says it couldn't fit. Richard tried to set it, but somehow we're like how are we 3 minutes apart? But we are. Isn't that weird?
All right, at 7 o'clock, Denny, will you hand the sign up sheet to Sarah? Started towards me. All right, if everybody, meeting is now come to order. It's April 7th, 7 PM. We're meeting at the fire station. Please stand and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Allison, will you please do the attendance roll call?
Dave Rudloff. Dave Rudloff.
Here.
Joe Boyd.
Here.
Kathy Brooks. Here. Jim Campbell.
Here.
Lynn Norris. Here. Bill Morris.
Here.
Mark Patty.
Here,
Okay, first item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which is approving the minutes from our previous meeting, which was March 2nd. And it also includes the open minutes from our March 11th work session. It also includes the financial statements that Sarah sent out, payment of the bills for March. So are there any questions on the minutes or the statements from Sarah, financial statements?
Are you, the only question I ordered with the Bloomington Normal Economic Development Group, what do we get for that for $300? Do you know what that is?
That is, tied to, that's something, Mark, were you here when we started on it? You'll know better than I will exactly what it does.
yeah, the Economic Development Council, what their goal is to attract businesses to communities, provide assistance with that, and do research and market research. And they're a resource for us, so if we want to, let's say, we wanted to investigate having a restaurant, here in the Hudson, we could rely on them as part of the membership to give us advice on how to solicit that type of business.
So it's just a fee to belong to that or something? you're saying?
Just like a
Yes,
once a
that's
year.
like the membership fee, yeah.
Okay, I was curious what it was. Thanks.
It's an annual fee.
Okay.
Okay, does anybody else have questions or comments? If not, we have a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any last discussion? Allison, roll call.
Joe Boyd.
Yes.
Kathy Brooks. Yes. Jim Campbell.
Yes.
Lynn Norris.
Yeah.
Bill Morris.
Yes.
Mark Patty.
Yes,
Okay, next item on the agenda is under me. The first bullet is revenue review. For those of you that may not be familiar, we are watching revenues real closely. Many villages and cities have reported pretty drastic revenue decreases because of COVID. We've been very fortunate that our revenues have been pretty stable and we have not seen major decreases like most of the other cities. So we are staying on top of it. I do have a question for the trustees. We are going to be starting a new budget year. And when Sarah used to send out the monthly detail, it was different than what we're getting right now. Right now, it really gives us a good chance to compare this year's to last year's. Would you like to go back to the old format, or do you want to stay on the format we're on now? Any comments? If not, think about it, because we can change reports at any point in time, so.
I have a question. The reports that you sent out, I think it was beginning of the week, last week,
At the end of last week, yeah.
are those the standard format or is that the new format?
The only one that's different is the revenue and expense. It still gives you basically the same information, but the report that I send out now lets you look at where it was at last year at the exact same time and where we're at this year. I feel like it's a pretty good report to stay with personally, but the only difference is before it didn't give you last year, so.
Okay, because I
But
thought,
that is
yeah.
the standard format, otherwise everything else is the same.
Okay, Sarah, will you send the trustees and me a copy of the new report we're getting and what we used to get, so everybody can compare it, and then we can make a choice.
Sure.
You know, we're not printing them, so it doesn't cost anything to do both of them, if that's what we really want.
No problem.
We'll decide that way. So revenue has been looking, real fortunate, we're happy where we're at. Next thing on the agenda is the COVID-19 status. Our counts for zip code 61748 are still going up, but they slowed down from a couple months ago. Last month, the count was 233, and this month, the count is 252. So it is still going up. For the county, the testing rate has been going up. And so it has delayed any chance of moving forward to the bridge phase or the final flight phase. So, but I don't know, I think everyone's probably aware of it. We are having a COVID vaccine clinic in Hudson tomorrow. No, Friday, not tomorrow. Friday at the fire department. It filled up in a couple days. So there are 200 slots that were open. And so I'm real happy to the county health department agreed to come out to Hudson. And I've told them that I personally received comments from a couple of people that they would have signed up, but they're not eligible yet. And so I told the county that if they have any other remote clinics, we'd certainly like to have them back to Hudson. So we may be on the list again in the future. One challenge was trying to figure out how to get the word out to our residents. We put it on our website. I contacted the library and the school and the churches and asked them to help get the word out. And I think they did a good job helping us get it out. So hopefully we'll have another one in the future. Next topic is the status of the sewer grant. I am working with Pat's office on an RFQ, which is request for qualifications. What we will be doing, if the board approves, will be to finish the request for qualifications and let a firm to describe why they're qualified to do the work that we need done for the next phase. And we're gonna just give those to firms that we know, or any firm that contacts us and requests it. We're not gonna do a sealed bid process or anything like that, so we'll get the stuff out that way. And, I don't know, Pat, hopefully we'll have the RFQ done maybe by the end of the month.
Yeah, I think that's a very reasonable timeframe to expect that to be concluded.
Okay, thanks. I've never done an RFQ before, so what I sent Pat as a draft might need total rewrite. So Kathy, we'll try to include you when we start editing that.
Okay, because I'm also curious, when you say you're going to give them to appropriate people, how are you going to contact them? Or is it just anybody that you're already aware of that might be interested?
Well, it'll be, for sure, it'll be Farnsworth, probably Lois Yachting Brown, our new MFT engineering firm, the firm from Champaign that came over and did a presentation. Those four at a minimum. And then if we know, if employees know of other engineering firms that might want to do this, or if other engineering firms hear about it, we'll send them the same packet of information. So it's a different process than a sealed bid, but it should work. It should work.
Yeah, I'm just confused as to what this RFQ is, truthfully. Because isn't that sort of what the initial proposal is about?
So RFQ is a relatively standard way to solicit interested parties for professional services. So you don't traditionally bid like engineering services on a job. Rather, you issue the RFQ to allow those interested to set forth their professional qualifications so you can evaluate of those interested, which has the appropriate qualifications for the job. the manner in which you disseminate that request, is certainly up to you guys. And some places are more liberal about, sending it out, and some are more selective, but, essentially it is it's unrelated to the project, and more so it's related to the project in the sense that you're asking for,
Okay,
contract.
so basically you're asking them to send us a resume as to what they can do.
Basically, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay, and I would like confirmation from the board that we do want to proceed that way. That includes, and we won't be passing the budget tonight, but it will include $20,000 out of our next year's budget. I believe it was 13,500 from the general fund and 6,500 from TIF. That's how we split it up. But before we go ahead and send out the RFQs, I'd like consent from the board through a motion and a second and approval that this is the way we want to proceed. So.
So this RFQ costs 20,000, or is that?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so basically then the procedure would be that, and this is just to get it straight in my head. The RFQ will be completed and sent to, let's say, the 5 engineering firms we're aware of. They will send us back basically a resume saying, these are the services we can provide. And we have the appropriate personnel and yada, yada, yada. And then, once we select from the responses, then we will send out, ask for who we select will be who we will ask to start with the initial proposal for the sewer.
Yeah, you would, so that step 1 correct, you issue the RFQ, request for qualifications, you receive you receive resumes is a good way to explain it. Then you review and select from those, and then you enter into a professional services agreement with the selected engineering firm, and then they go forward providing the professional services, the sewer study that you guys are having done.
Okay, so, and because my understanding is the initial sewer study will determine basically the direction the village would need to go, and if it would be even reasonable to establish a sewer, department?
Sewer system.
I'm not sure what you would call it.
Yeah, my understanding of the initial study is it's evaluating the feasibility of various, primarily gravity flow system, pressure main system, giving you ideas on what the cost would be and the manner in which that could be implemented. Essentially a feasibility and.
Yeah, feasibility study, because my understanding is there's a couple of reasonable options that are, or at least have been spoken of, that may not be reasonable after a feasibility study.
Yeah, and the preliminary study, from my understanding, is functionally necessary for the EPA for going forward with the next phase of implementation. They want to see, from some of the questions I've asked Farnsworth before at the outset of this project, they want to see a feasibility study. They want to see certain options evaluated as a part of your determination of the manner in which you're going to, go forward with the sewer system. So it's a necessary step 1.
The engineering firm would also be responsible for submitting the grant application for the
Right.
second phase of the work.
And that should be on the resume they send back from the RFQ, basically. The grant assistant, I assume, would be one of the items we would want to check off.
Yes. Yeah, whether they've done it before, that type of thing. So, and to answer your question, the 20,000 is actually for the work they would be doing the actual study. Which I don't know how long it would be. So. Good questions. Anybody else have any questions or comments? If not, I'd like to see a motion to approve the use of the RFQ for finding an engineering firm to do the sewer study work.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Any final questions? If not, Allison, roll call.
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kathy Brooks,
Yes,
Jim Campbell,
Yes.
Lynn Norris. Yes. Bill Morris,
Yes.
Mark Patty.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. I will be working with Pat's firm to get that squared away. We will send it out to all the trustees before we ever send it out. On the next item on the list is a additional meeting in April. At one time, I thought we would need an additional meeting for finalizing the budget. In the last status memo I sent out, we talked about, or I mentioned we have a possibility of including $25,000 of art money in our budget, and that would balance the budget. Sarah pointed out that if we do that, we would not need a final meeting or an additional meeting in April to balance the budget. It would be in balance at that point in time. And I also asked about pay raises, because pay raises start with the new year. And it just so happens that the pay period doesn't end till after our May meeting. So we don't have to have an additional meeting for salaries. We can squeak it in May, and she could still make the salary payments. But we have an oversight, and we do not have MFT on our budget, on our agenda for tonight. And we need to look at MFT. I think we need to get that passed as soon as possible so that we can start that work. And once we pass it, the state has to approve it, and then we can actually start the MFT work. We've got a ton to do this year. So I would like to have one additional meeting in April. And we'll include MFT, we can include the employee reviews, and we'll put budget as an agenda item in case there's things we want to talk about there. I hope if people have concerns or objections to using art money this year, it's a good time to discuss it right now. The communication we have is very scant on art money. We have a potential for $234,000 of revenue, but the state hasn't said how they're gonna administer the program. We would have a potential for half of the money in this budget year, and then half the year after that. But once again, we don't know how the state's gonna administer it and what they're gonna require us to do before they're gonna pay us. Infrastructure was a major category. The sewer study we're gonna be doing is definitely infrastructure. And we got $20,000 in our budget for that. So right off the bat, there's $20,000 we should be able to get refunded right off the bat. So, but nothing's certain yet. I feel pretty confident we'll be getting some.
what about the,
I hate to go much over 25,000.
just a question on the art thing, wouldn't that also be bridge for the sidewalk to Casey's, the infrastructure?
That could potentially be another infrastructure project that could qualify for our money.
Because, well, I guess that, nobody knows what the qualification.
The federal guidelines, one of them was infrastructure projects or broadband type projects. But the state has not come out with any definitions yet beyond what the federal government said.
So we don't know crap.
We don't know enough. So,
One bad word, I'm doing good.
so, I guess is April 19th a workable date for the majority of the trustees for the board meeting?
It's a Monday, that's unusual, in case anyone doesn't realize.
Later that week, I think we have some conflicts.
No, I'm just bringing it up.
It is a Monday.
Yeah,
good Monday to get a lot accomplished, so. All right, we'll set up, our next meeting for April 19th, 7 o'clock here at the, police station. So we'll see everybody then. We know we have multiple things to talk about to get finalized. Okay, the next bullet is the 5-year plan status. Sewer study, we are moving ahead with that. For the, see, Richard is here for our planning committee chairperson. So we are moving forward with the sewer work. We have got money budgeted for the sidewalk to Dollar General, so we hope to be moving forward with that this summer. And we have some things on the back burner right now with drainage type issues. If we get ARP money, you know, half of that ARP money comes to us this year, we can do a lot with some of the drainage projects we'd like to get done. But we don't know what we can count on yet, so I can't tell you how we're gonna spend that money, we don't even know what we're gonna get. So if we get a lot, we're gonna be asking the planning committee to help us decide how to spend it. So I think we're making good progress on the 5-year plan. And I hope we continue to do that. Next bullet item is the status of the Lampert land swap. Believe it or not, we have changed status on that for the first time in months. The documents to be filed have all been mailed to the county. Everything's signed, sealed, it's been mailed to the county now for recording. That can take up to a month to get recorded. The Lamperts, School Village, I believe it's $575 for their half of some of the expenses. And Steve is aware of that, and I think those will get paid this week. So hopefully within a month, it will be final. This has been a 5.5-year effort, as far as I know, so I'm looking forward to getting something off this list.
I just wanted to add that everything left's administrative, so there's no, recording a document, getting it back, getting it disseminated, I'm not dependent on anybody else other than the county office doing their job to get it from conclusion, so we're done waiting for somebody else, so.
Will we know when everything's final?
Yes, when we get the deed back, we'll make a copy for our file, we'll get it to village, and that way you guys have official confirmation. We'll also call and let you know once we get the feedback as well.
Hot dog roast. when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next bullet is updating the village website, finding responsibilities for sewer. What trustee do we want to put that under? And an IT responsibility. We've had this on the agenda for a few meetings and haven't really gone anywhere with it. I'm gonna suggest that for the village website, we make our Sarah primarily responsible for it, for coordinating the communication to get it updated. She does that now anyway. But I'd also like to add responsibilities for deleting obsolete information on the village website. There's some things out there that are a year old that should have been gone a long time ago. So, and this is not set in stone yet, these are just my thoughts, so we'll have to.
I thought we were gonna hire an IT person part-time, like 4 hours a week.
We've talked about that. The IT person would be responsible for doing the updates that we tell them to do. The IT person would not know the village of Hudson, what our village
Well,
is.
yeah, like Sarah would handle the list and say,
Yeah.
this needs stuff.
Sarah would be responsible for coordinating the updates, not doing the physical changes. And at some point in time, she may wanna learn that, but for now, just go through it and get everything up to date, get it cleaned up. So we talked about that, we did not budget for an additional 4-hour-a-week employee for IT. I don't remember how much time we did to it.
We actually did.
We did for 4 hours a
There's
week.
enough for 4 hours a week,
Okay,
yeah.
is that between police and general, or?
Yeah, police half and general half,
Okay, so,
so it is in the budget.
so that would be who's gonna actually write the code to change the pages. But it would be at Sarah's direction or the trustees' direction.
Okay, so would Sarah then be tasked with getting this person to sign?
I'm sorry?
I said then would Sarah be responsible for getting this person to sign?
Getting the person assigned, did you say?
Yeah, sign, hired,
No,
okay,
no, that would be the trustees.
okay.
So, and we have had somebody working part-time doing it, who's done a terrific job for us. I would definitely recommend it to him, to the trustees, to be our 4-hour-a-week technician, IT person, if he would be willing to do that.
Yeah, cause in my mind, they don't have to be here like on Friday. They can do it on Sunday afternoon or, yeah, whenever.
Depending on what needs to be done,
Yeah,
and they might be able to do it remotely,
I would hope so.
so. But,
Most people.
the person that we have right now, Patrick, Nicholas, yeah, we got too many Patricks to it. Nicholas has been working a lot with Dale on police stuff and with Sarah on our village side, and he's done a really good job for us.
Is he interested in doing it?
I believe he would be, more than likely, he's starting a new full-time job, but he has said he would still like to do part-time on the side, things like that, so.
Well, that's why I was thinking, 4 hours a week, and that's if it's needed. Because it's not like we have something going on every day of the week that changes.
It's kind of a personnel issue, so I'm gonna ask Lynn to lead this hiring, selecting a person and hiring it. And you have people on your committee, don't you?
Yes.
That you can rely on to help with interviews or talking with Nicholas or whatever.
Okay.
So if you'll take the lead with that, that'd be good. Thank you. So we still have sewer responsibility. I don't know which trustee that would best fit with. I'm kind of thinking it goes with water. So, again, we need for the trustees to agree, this is how we want to form our trustee responsibilities. So I will put that on the agenda for next month to hopefully discuss and vote on responsibilities. Because sewer could be a major responsibility in the next couple of years.
I anticipate that it will be. And it needs somebody, what would be perfect is if we could get somebody in here who's about 35, that's gonna stay on the board for a decade or so, and have them take care of it with backup from other members of the board, because it needs dedication. I just said my spiel.
I understand, and I hope you'll help find that person. So,
No problem, I've been doing this.
good, thank you. So I will put something on next month's agenda for us to agree on how we want to divvy some of this stuff up. Lynn's responsible for coordinating the hiring, but she may not be responsible for the IT work that has to be done. That could be another trustee. So I'm thinking, who may have the most time among the various trustees? And it might be the parks position right now, because we got a lot of stuff going on in a lot of the areas, so. So IT person may end up being responsibility of parks, just to try and keep the work balanced. So I don't know where it'll go. So.
Didn't I accept that last month?
No, you took inventory.
Yeah, but I also said I do IT.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, we have a volunteer.
Oh,
Oh, I'm volunteer. sure.
No, no,
I just thought that's what I did.
He thought he did it, so let's let him have it.
Okay, so IT, the responsibility for the IT person, and again, we'll vote on it next meeting, but it looks like it'll go to Parks trustee.
I'm keeping it.
Okay, next bullet item is the Durbin property. We all know it's up for sale. And there are possibly some things the village can do. I wanna work with Pat on that and find out what some of the costs might be for some of the things the village might be able to do. So, the best thing that could happen would be if they reduce the price and the property sold.
Or it burned to the ground.
The best thing that could happen would be if they reduce the price of the property sold. We just had a whole house fire here in Hudson.
Yeah, that was awful,
So, it's awful.
but I'm being.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the TIF grant request that we got from the Prairie View Homeowners Association. I emailed a copy to all the trustees. And we have somebody here, Michelle, from the Homeowners Association. I believe you're the secretary of the association, aren't you?
That's correct.
So, we'll open this up for discussion to see what the trustees think about this. It is a one-time request for a $1,500 grant. Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the grant money would be used to submit a request to the state supporting the reduction of the testing that has to be done. Is that correct?
We're declassifying the filtration system back there, so that would entail less testing and lower costs to the HOA annually by almost 14% of the existing budget.
Okay, and the last time the homeowners association came up before the board, there were a lot of associated things, and we wanted the homeowners association to get started. And they have done that. Is Steve the president?
Yes, Steve Modine.
And Michelle's one of the officers, and they are making progress, getting stuff done and getting some dues collected. So, go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, as everyone knows, I am not part of the homeowners association, even though I do live in the Prairie View subdivision. I believe that the homeowners association should take care of their own items, especially if this basically is to reduce their costs. They want money to reduce their costs. So I don't think the village should touch anything associated with the homeowners association. But I'll be right up front, I have a non-vested interest in it. I don't think the village should touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Okay, your non-vested interest, is that something that would prevent you from voting?
Yes, I
Okay.
will abstain, but I have a right to my opinion.
Oh, yeah, and so do all the trustees. Thank you. And thank you for being upfront with voting.
You can depend, I'll be honest.
Okay. Do the trustees have questions for Michelle? Michelle, go ahead, Lynn.
What are current HOA fees?
This year they were $230 because not everybody in the subdivision is required to be in the HOA. That was a clerical problem that they had that began in 2002. My house was one of the first houses built in '98. So by 2002, they had already fallen off the bandwagon to make sure that every home that was built in the subdivision was deeded and properly to include everybody in the subdivision in the HOA, which was on the plans for the original development, for specifically the sand filtration that was required out there. So right now, currently, we have less than half of the people in our subdivision that are required to be in the HOA.
So how many is that?
78 out of 146.
And so this would reduce the current HOA fees for everybody by 14%.
By 14%. So, Steve and I are trying to get the HOA up and going to the point that we can get more people to volunteer to become part of the HOA, which will also reduce the cost for everybody in the HOA. But with the 78, some of the people that are attached to the filtration system are not required to be in the HOA, so they're not paying anything. And then people who are not attached to the filtration system are having to pay because the required paperwork was filled on our properties. So, so yeah, it would reduce, so basically, we would get payback in the first year. With this $1,500 that we are requesting from the TIF, if we were to receive the $1,500, then we would get payback in the first year of up to $2,500. That would save us by reclassifying our filtration, our current filtration system back there right now is a class 2. So we have to have electricity back there, and then we have to have twice monthly testing, which we have to pay people to go out there to test. Then we have to pay for the samples as well.
So what is your guys, like, what is your expenses in your budget right now out of the fees that you do get from the 78 residents that are in HOA? Like, what do you spend the HOA money on right now?
Oh, okay, so the HOA money is spent on the retention basin back there, which everybody in the subdivision is attached to. And then we have to have insurance. We have to have insurance for the board. We have an accounting firm that sends out all of our mailings for billing. And then the filtration system, there's a company that goes back there and monitors, takes the samples, the lab, and then the electricity that's required back there currently.
So the current budget that you guys have, is it enough to cover everything that is required right now? Like the current fees that you guys
We have to, like from 2020 to 2021, we had to increase the cost per person by $30. And then some people pay, some people don't.
Sure.
So, you know, we're just basically at the mercy of if people pay or people don't. Then we have the option to file liens. Oh, also, I'm sorry, I also missed in our budget is attorney fees. We have to pay for an attorney as well. So in order to file liens on people's properties, and that would increase our costs again to file liens on people's properties, which is not what we want to do because those are our neighbors. So we're kind of really in a precarious situation right now. So we're trying to do what we can do to reduce the cost to people who are required to be in the HOA.
Yeah, but going back to my question is the fees that you do get enough to pay what is needed right now?
Yes,
Okay.
if everybody pays, but not everybody does.
Right.
Yes,
So
we
if
can't have a shortfall, yeah.
That is if everybody pays, so
If
what
everybody
happens?
pays the HOA dues, correct.
What happens if people don't pay? I mean, besides the lien thing, but like with the things you have to pay for, you just don't pay them? I'm just, so
No, we really don't know what we're gonna do.
Oh, okay,
I
hasn't
mean, we
happened yet.
barely made it through last year's budget. I mean,
Okay.
we had just made it through last year's budget.
Gotcha, okay. What is TIF usually, is this something TIF can pay for? Kathy, you know, I feel more about TIF. I thought,
Technically, yes, it
Okay.
is, but as I said, there's a long history there that you're not aware of.
yeah, right,
I won't go into that,
okay,
but it has forced my opinion to where, the village has no liability concerning the sand filter, and the village should not touch anything associated with it with a 10-foot pole, in my opinion. But yes, if the board of trustees votes to say yes, the TIF funds can be used for it.
That, good question. If the board of trustees voted to approve this $1,500 grant, would we have any future liabilities?
No, awarding a tip grant to the homeowners association doesn't create any liability conceivably in the future or responsibility for the operation, maintenance, or upkeep of the system. Two derivative questions though on things that have come up. And I apologize if I was copying on correspondence that would indicate this. Has your special TIF council reviewed the grant and done a redevelopment, a kind of a grant agreement, and given any opinion on conflict of interest for voting on this? Because there's a couple issues presented that I would be curious if they've given an opinion on, one of which is if there are any trustees who are residents and members of the association. I think they would, and I understand Catherine said she's not in the association, but if you're a board member and in the association, I think you would have a conflict of interest in voting. Conceivably, I think there's an argument to be made that even if you're not a HOA member, but if you're a resident within the subdivision who essentially benefits by these improvements, then you may have a conflict of interest. So I don't know where this is, you know, I know you guys get a grant application and it's board approval, but if Jacob and Klein and the Economic Development Group that works with you on the TIF hasn't given you, hasn't reviewed and considered this, that may be something to do before you take final action on it.
Okay, so how many of the board members right now live in the Prairie View subdivision? 1, 2, 3. So that's half our board members right there. So that is definitely something we have to find out. Would the TIF group be able to find?
It's in fact what you pay them for. I'd be glad to, you know, look at it and give you an opinion, but they collect a fee that's not insubstantial, and one of the things that's for is giving you opinions on that specific issue. So Jacob and Klein and Economic Development Group would be appropriate to ask for that opinion.
Okay, Kathy, would you follow up with that?
I'll call Gwen first thing in the morning. Now, what be very specific in what I need to ask her.
I would ask, well, one, just a general proposition. Have they looked at this grant application?
Yes.
Okay. I would ask her, tell her that some of the board members are any of the, I'm sorry, before I tell you what to ask, anybody also a member of the association? So we have board members who are not members of the association. I just inform her those facts, that there are members on the board who live within the Prairie View subdivision, but are not members of the association. The property is not subject to their covenants. And ask her if that presents a conflict of interest that would require those trustees to abstain from voting. The answer may be no, but I don't want to find out afterwards that they say you shouldn't have voted. It's better to take a month or 2 weeks, and you can do it at your special if you want to. But and if she has questions on what I was meaning, by raising the issue, you're welcome to have her contact me.
Okay, I'll email her first thing in the morning, depending on her response.
Yep.
I will probably forward it to you.
Sure. I was gonna say you copy me on the email, and that way if a question comes up, I can answer it.
Okay, so if their response is, yes, we think that would be a conflict of interest, that will eliminate 3 of our board members from voting on it. So what would we need to do?
Well, I mean, you could still, so those members would still have to abstain. You're not, let's see, you have full board, so it'd require 48 votes. So if that would mean if the 3 remaining trustees who aren't conflicted vote yes, then it would go, let me think, we have, we got full board. Yeah, all 4 non-conflicted people, including yourself, would have to vote yes for it. Otherwise, it would fail.
Okay, so all 4 of us that would be eligible to vote would have to vote on it.
Yeah, it would go to the 3 trustees other than the village president, and if all 3 of those voted yes, then the village president's vote would be taken. If it was 2-1, 2 yeas, 1 nay, your vote wouldn't be taken because it doesn't matter, because it would take a majority of the whole board. So the 3 abstaining essentially are no, they don't count for yeas, so.
All right, let's put this item on the agenda for our April 19th meeting.
Can I ask one question? With the $1,500, this is not a guarantee from the IEPA that they're gonna reduce the level from a level 2 to a level 1, right? This is $1,500
For a study.
just for a study.
They will present it to the EPA. The engineering firm will put together a study and present that to the EPA to see if they would declassify it, but no,
But
it's
it's
not
not a
guaranteed,
guarantee.
correct.
Dave, I have one thing too. So with the election yesterday, there's gonna be open spots for trustees. So depending on when you put this on the agenda, that might change the numbers.
So even if there is vacancy, you're still, the 4 yes votes are still required. So I don't know, who's off and who's on, to be honest with you, but if you had 2 vacancies and so you only have 5 actively involved board members and 3 are conflicted, you're not gonna have enough yay votes for it to pass. So I would suggest you need to get back to a full board unless people leaving are conflicted.
Okay, so I assume we're obligated to have our new trustees sworn in at our May meeting, not at the April work session meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct. First regular meeting after the official election results are released.
All right, so if the board is okay with this, we'll bring it up after we find out what our TIP experts say and go from there. And Michelle, I hope you're available, you or Steve are available to come on April 19th. We
Of
will be
course.
here at the police station again.
Yes,
Okay,
sorry I was late. This is my 4th stop. I started at the library, then I went to the village hall, then I went to the fire department. Clearly I should have read your email a little better, sorry.
I'm
Thank you for
sorry,
your time.
I should have made that clearer, so. All right, next item on the agenda is art money. We've talked about it a little bit. We have a potential for $230,000 to come our way. That's a lot of money. So we're just waiting on the state right now to give us the requirements for whatever it's gonna take for us to get that art money. I don't know if it'll be like Build Illinois, because, that, we're getting and we can spend it as long as it's like MFT. I don't know what this is gonna be, so. We did have a mayor's meeting today from McLean County mayors, and no one's getting any information on what it's gonna take, so. Just kinda waiting on the state. And we do have an effort going, I asked Jeff about this the other day. The one welcome sign coming into Hudson from the west is damaged. And we had an initial rough estimate, I think it was $5,500 to repair it.
For a new one, yes.
And so, and I don't know, Jeff, have you had any time to really do much research yet? Okay, so we don't have any update yet. We did have an offer from one of the planning commission members to paint the other 3 signs. So I think we can go ahead and do that. And, we'll just ask Doug to notify us and, before he gets the paint and stuff, and he can go ahead and paint the other 3 signs then if he wants to.
Do you guys wanna reach out to him, or you want me to let him know?
Would you go ahead and let him know?
Okay, and have him give you guys some idea of front costs and stuff before. I think he just was wanting to get the paint, get it done, and then just turn his receipts in. Are you okay with that?
Or how much can we pre-approve, Sarah? I mean, what do we have in our budget?
I would have to look at that,
We
but
can look at that.
yeah, I wouldn't think it would be over.
I can't imagine that it's gonna be more than a couple $100.
I'm sure Doug will be very frugal about, he's not gonna go. he's not
I think
gonna
it'll
go-
be fine.
He'll do a good job.
Okay, have him contact Sarah with the price,
Okay.
so. Okay. That's the end of my report at this point in time. Next on the agenda is, Water and Public Property Superintendent Jeff.
Okay, in water, Denny, Tyler, sometimes Phil, running back and forth on his golf cart, bringing equipment. Thank you, Phil. We fixed, I think, 5 or 6 different spots in town. So the only way I'm gauging that at this point, because of the fire, I think we used between 84,000 and 100 and some thousand in water with the fire, which doesn't go through my master meter. We were running, before these fixes, we were running probably 135 to 140,000 gallons a day. I've seen as low as 88 a day, probably averaging 112 a day. So we're on the right track. Now we're starting to see an influx with Sun Ag. The farmers are starting to put their chemicals on the field. So Sun Ag is probably pushing out 20 or 30,000 gallons a day, going through the meter. So with the fire being where it was and the bill from Bloomington coming around that time, we can't get a good vision on what's going on yet. But my master meter we read every day, and those numbers are down substantially. So I think we're headed on the right track. I want to thank Denny and Tyler for all their hard work in getting that done. And Sparky saw the one up on West Street on a Saturday, called Denny and let him know what happened. I think that one's been there a while. There's a tile that runs in the ditch, and I think it was finding that tile for some time before it came through the road. So we got that one taken care of. We got the other 4 taken care of. So we'll continue to look for those leaks as they present themselves. I have lead copper coming up in June, the CCR report coming up in June. So that's where we're at with water. Parks, I feel like I'm ahead of the game. I don't know if it's because of the warm weather, but all the parks are cleaned up, all the limbs are in the parks are picked up. Again, thank Denny and Ty for helping do that. The ball net's up, the mulch is around the concession stand and around the memorial. The grass is mowed. They're ready to play ball. The one thing I do want to talk to you guys about is the bathrooms. The bathrooms are clean, ready to go. The water's there. They're still locked. So if we unlock them, it's going to be unlocked 24 hours a day because there's nobody to come back and lock them at night. So with the COVID situation, I'm going to leave that to you guys to decide how you want to handle that. If you want to open them, or if you don't want to open them, I'll leave it to you guys' decision. We didn't open them all last year, but they're ready to go if you want to open them up.
Do you remember the COVID guidelines we have right now? Is it okay to open them?
It's been changed so many times, Dave, I don't even know where we're at with phases. I would think if we get to that phase where the big opening, I don't even know what he calls that. It's where we get below 2 or 3% and he opens up everything. I think if we get to there, we'd be fine, but I mean, I can research it.
Now, I'm pretty sure that it's okay to have them open now.
Okay.
With ball games going and everything. And my personal thought is, we're gonna be having ball games up there, we're gonna need bathroom facilities. And let's hope that there's not a lot of vandalism up there, and until we start having issues with that, my recommendation would be to go ahead and open them. I don't know, Jim, what are your thoughts?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Any of the other trustees have thoughts or comments?
I say,
Yeah, you've got a bunch of kids up there playing ball.
Well, we'll make it the daily swing in the morning to make sure that they're all still sitting there and clean and.
Okay.
One last thing, I'd like to thank Don Lloyd from Freedom Stone Makers for putting in our new water fountain up there. The other one was kind of not good, and he came out and made a nice little water fountain for us, and I appreciate it. That's all I got.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Next report is from Street and Zoning, Denny Engel.
Well, there was a mix mix-up in communication, and it was probably my fault and a lack of communication to double check to make sure that the MFT got on the agenda tonight, so it's not. You guys have already heard my kind of spiel in our budget meeting about the MFT. Patrick is on the Zoom meeting if you have any questions about that. So I don't have anything more to say about the MFT other than what I said before. So I don't know if you want to, anybody wants to ask Patrick about the questions now, or I think we're gonna try to vote on it to pass it at our next meeting.
We'll include that in our April 19th meeting. Also, please add that to the agenda. Danny, is there any changes to the MFT plan that you didn't talk about in our budget session?
Well, you're asking somebody that forgot to get the MFT on the program, if they didn't remember anything, so I'm not sure that I'm the best one to ask that question. But Patrick, do you have anything that you'd like to say since you're here on the meeting to get in at least 2 cents?
Sure. Just the recap of everything was the $85,000 resolution. Approximately 40,000 that was kind of split down the middle between MFT and RBI funds, the Rebuild Illinois funds, so we can utilize those. It entails about 8 different subjects: HMA patching, spray patching, signs, sidewalks, crack sealing, snow removal, and drainage. It's a good program to kind of cover everything. I think it's a good use of the RBI funds also. I'll entertain any questions.
The only thing I'd have to say, I did remember this, is Pat, if you want to say about let them know about the heater scarifier is still an option, maybe for us next year or something.
Yes, thank you. The heater scarification is something that me personally, I've been using in many of my communities for probably 15 years now, and it is still an option. East Peoria is generally the main, East Peoria and Morton are the main entities that involve heater scarification. There's only 2 heater scarifiers in the state, both from Chicago, but we've been lucky enough to get them to come down every year because we have a program. And I have talked to him personally about the one contractor that we have been using. And I've talked to him personally about Hudson, just to broach the idea that if there is a opportunity that they would be able to do that. And he said, absolutely.
Okay, do any of the trustees have questions about anything specific that we covered or even high level? Do we feel confident that we're ready to vote on it at our next meeting then in April? I'd like to get that confidence so that we don't need to have Patrick attend by Zoom for our next April meeting. So, okay, I think we're good. So it'll be on our agenda for the April 19th meeting. And hopefully we'll be able to move forward at that time. Thanks for hanging with us again tonight, Pat.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you. Have a good night.
The limbs, maybe that's why I forgot the MFT, is I think maybe a couple times Jeff and I rock, paper, scissors, are we gonna go try to fix water today or pick up limbs? And so he spent an awful lot of time helping me do the sticks, so thanks for that. Also, thanks on the sticks is one day I was talking to Jeff Emmert at the township, and he was saying, yeah, you still got a lot of sticks out there. I'm like, well, it's a lot less than we had, and he said, well, I can help sometime. I said, well, maybe, you can bring over one of your dump trucks someday. The next thing I know, the next morning, he's got his whole crew in, and they're starting to help us clean. So I say it quite frequently, whenever you see Jeff or Mike or anybody associated with the township to, tell them thanks for all the stuff that they do for the village, from storing our fuel to letting the landscape bunker be over there, to helping us out. So, we try to help them out, whenever we can, but I think we're on the short end of that stick. I think I need to thank, Pat for, I think, in March, we went to court, I believe. So I think we got one of our issues to a resolution. I'm not sure that another issue is anywhere near a resolution, but, I think that's all that I have, and the permits and all that stuff are starting, so. Any other questions?
Thank you, Denny. Does anybody have any questions for Denny?
I have one statement. We're back on the first Monday of the month, limb pickup.
Yes.
So anything put out there after Monday, last Monday, 3 days ago, that was our first April pickup, was this last Monday. I think everybody's getting used to the last 10 weeks just putting it out anytime they want to. And we're gonna get so busy with this MFT stuff, the sidewalk stuff, and the grass mowing and all that stuff. We're not gonna be able to go around every 2 days and clean up the town. And we need to get back on that schedule.
And that definitely, we talked about putting that out on the social media again, but we had it all done. We thought, I went home for lunch, came back, and there was 2 or 3 more files that had came out while I was gone eating lunch, so that needs to be put out, so anyway, thank you.
We can work with Sarah and Dale, get it posted.
Yep.
Pick up what we got, and that's it until first of May. Except for Bill, they have a truth. Thank you, Denny. Any last questions for Denny? If not, Village Marshal Dale Sparks.
Not a lot going on in the police department this time. We've got several investigations, where people are filing the unemployment. We're getting a lot of those reports, and there's really no follow-up. But we do take reports and file them and make sure that the people have for their insurance companies, et cetera. So a good idea if you're concerned about losing credit or information, identity theft, just put a block or at least a warning on the 3 different Experian, those type of warnings, just to help you out. But other than that, a couple reports here and there, business as usual, cars are running good. Have a few canine issues, spraying the dogs are running. Issued several ordinance violations, hasn't seemed to stop it. We have a couple of individuals who don't seem to understand, but we're working on it. I've talked to Pat, and we're addressing it if we need to. So we'll follow the legal procedures and get it taken care of eventually. So other than that, there's really not a whole lot going on right now.
Dale, anybody have questions for Dale?
Actually, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit about the restrooms at parks. Does the police department have patrols out regularly in the evenings? Because I'm thinking like 9 o'clock, the restrooms can be locked up, and if the police are out, they could have a key and just go through and lock them up.
We have a key, we have no manpower. That's as easy as I can say.
That's why I asked.
Okay. You have a question?
Okay, thanks, Dale. Next, civil defense, Jeff Thomas is not here. Do we know if the sirens went off yesterday?
Yes, we did.
Okay, sirens did go off yesterday, so. Okay, next we have our citizens hearing. We have one person that signed up, Aaron Kinder. Aaron, would you please go to the podium? Thanks for bearing through the meeting here.
No, that's fine. Some of you know or may not know me, my name is Aaron Kinder. When I was up voting the other day, I did notice that there was a position on the board that was not filled, that was not up for voting. I wanted to stop up tonight just to express an interest in that position and kind of let the board know a little bit about who I am and what my experiences are. Moved into Hudson in 1979. Raised both my boys and my family here, on and off over the last several years. Currently with Hudson Fire Department, been on for 17 years, and I hold the title of Assistant Chief. For the last 5 years, I've worked with the City of Bloomington. I'm the Superintendent of Mechanical Maintenance in the Public Works Water Division. So I oversee the water treatment plant out at Lake Bloomington, the pumping facility at Evergreen, the Mackinac Station, all the water towers, reservoirs, and facilities within the City of Bloomington. And I also manage the electricians that take care of all the traffic lights and the sewer lift stations within the City of Bloomington. Prior to that, I was the Fire Systems Inspector in Code Enforcement. And have like I said, so I've got a vast knowledge of water, maintenance, infrastructure, code enforcement, RFPs and RFQs, which we do quite frequently, dealing with engineering firms. Like I said, I just wanted to come up and put my name in for the possibility for the position.
Sewer guy.
Sewer guy.
And actually, my position with the city, I do it all. I'm in the middle of right now a $200,000 access control and camera project, basically securing all of our infrastructure out at the lake ends in town. So I'm working on having fiber installed, new switches, new mainframes, collectors out at the plant. So I do pretty much anything that doesn't have, anything that's mechanical maintenance falls on me, mechanical maintenance and sewer, or at security.
IT too?
I do a lot with IT. I don't do the IT stuff. I deal with the guys that do the IT stuff.
No, I didn't.
No, but like I said, I just wanted to come up and express it and throw my name out there. So that's all right.
Thank you very much for coming up. I do want the trustees to know that I understand you are in charge of putting out the house fire down here, and I heard from several people you did a great job at that, so.
Thank you. Like I said, and we couldn't have done it without Jeff being up there, monitoring the water tower and what was going on with the water while we were doing it. So I appreciate it.
It's a good partnership. So thank you very much, Aaron.
You're welcome.
Cool. How many people are we gonna be short on our board after May?
We have 3 people that were elected. That was, I'm assuming that since there was no competition, I have not heard any official election results yet.
Okay, I'm just assuming whoever ran got it.
Yeah, that would be good. You're still a trustee. Lynn, you ran. We have 2 openings right now. We will have 2 openings in May after the trustees are sworn in. So,
Yeah, 'cause you didn't run. You didn't run. You did run?
Did not.
You did not run.
there are some, yes.
We need young people in here. We're all too old. Well, not you. You're a kid.
I beg your pardon.
I'm sorry, you're older than I am.
I don't know whether to thank you for that or not. Okay, that ends the reports from our employees. Next, we have finance, budget, and contracts. Lynn?
Yep, I've got 2 things. The first one is we got the revisions of the garbage contract, or bid proposal. Everything that we requested did get changed in it, so we had a chance to look at it. I'll go over it real quick. Just the minor, typos of the Village of Hudson and McLean County were changed. The leaf collection option was put in there that if they have that option, they're gonna include it in the bid, so we can just see what it looks like, what it would take if we wanted to do that.
Oh, there it is. Event pickups, in the first one we got, it was 2 per year. So I asked if we could change it to as needed, so there might be, they might not like it as needed, so they might ask us to put in a number, so we'll just address that when it comes. And then the exhibit A and B were added, if they weren't in it before, which then sparked him to realize that we can't provide it for churches if we don't provide it for all non-residential establishments in Hudson. So I just wanna know what everybody thinks about that. What it, like, has it always been in the, have we always provided that for the churches, and what can we do about it?
I think it's always been part of the deal, but I don't think it's ever been pointed out before that legally we can't do it.
Right.
So, and that doesn't prevent us from telling the churches who we're gonna award the contract to and letting them negotiate
Okay.
their own pickup that way.
Okay, so we'll just leave that.
But we will have to let the churches know with the new contract, we can't include them anymore.
Okay,
So will you do that?
I can do that, yep. I would have to let them know soon then, so that
Yeah.
they're
that'd be
ready
good.
when we're ready, okay. And then the last one was when I was looking at the exhibit, the Hudson Fire Department, they only have the one dumpster. It didn't include the second one in November. So I don't know if that could be like one of the, no, it can't be an event. So if we want to approve this tonight, can we do that knowing that we're gonna get the revision on that one dumpster?
Yeah, you can approve it subject to that change.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So was there any questions or concerns or anything with the new bid?
The only thing I wondered if anything in here would keep people from bidding, and the two things I thought might would be the language about the trucks can't leak at all. I mean, I don't know if that's possible. You know, those, I don't know how hard it would keep the trucks from leaking completely. And the other thing was, the thing about the dumpster uptown, it says collection of recycled material, like inside or beside the
Yeah.
recycling bin.
But
I mean, I don't know if you're concerned that somebody would leave them out and stuff
When
beside the
they-
bin.
Right, and that alerted me too, but I mean, if they have that option, they're gonna write it what they can do. So if picking up stuff beside a recycling dumpster is not in what they can do, then they won't put it in their proposal, right?
Well, so you're asking, after the proposals come back, the
Yeah.
next phase is is entering into a specific contract.
Yeah.
So sometimes fine points are addressed in contractual negotiations. I can tell you from prior professional experience that there's at least one party, I'm sure would be interested in bidding on your garbage contract, that has that contract provision in other contracts other places. In specific regard to picking up garbage by the bins. So that in prior professional experience hasn't been a deterrent to interested contractors. The no leaking, so there's and some of the Phil and Dave and some of the longer term board members that have a better perspective on this than me, but I know from my time with the village, I'm aware of, a fair bit of history with your garbage contractor and some contractual provisions being responsive to problems. And that from time to time, you guys have had headaches with debris blowing out of trucks and with truck leakage. So I think the leakage part is responsive to complaints that existed in Hudson in the past and is not necessarily a provision you always see in a contract, but I think it has been a kind of not unusual to what you've included in prior bid specs. And just to the same extent, it's difficult to not undermining the importance of that provision, not knowing logistics, how hard that is to implement. Similarly, in the absence of that being a major recurring problem, contractual enforcement of that premise is not easy. in other words, you can tell them your truck leaked and you need to get it fixed so it doesn't happen again, but you're probably not gonna be suing them for damages caused by the leaky truck. So it probably ends up being honestly more persuasive language than language you could really hold them to super well.
Denny or Jeff, was that just last summer that that hydraulic hose broke on that one dump?
Just here a month or so ago, there was numerous spots that I sent Lynn pictures and told her about it, that, all over town. Like, there was hardly any street that doesn't have, a puddle of oil on it, and every time the truck stopped. Not as noticeable in Old Town on the oil and chip roads, but the subdivisions, really bad in Havens. Puddle of oil come out, and then the tires tracked it until the next puddle, and, I'm not sure why the truck didn't just stop, and we'll get that issue fixed, but it's, you can see right where they drove down this side of the street, turned around, and then made another puddle, so it's not like you couldn't see that it was happening, so, I don't know.
Is that something that they could file an insurance claim on, or like a damage, property damage? Like they have insurance.
Yeah, so that would be a matter of, I mean, arguably you asserting a claim against the disposal company for damage to the road. I don't know, if they would know better than me what, I'm not sure there's necessarily a repair that you can do. I mean, I'm not sure you could have a cleanup company come and, you know, and clean residue of hydraulic.
Right, I mean, I talked to the garbage company currently about it, and I called them when it happened. And then it rained for a couple days, quite a while, so I said, you know, he made the comment that, typically what they can do is come out with a pressure washer and try to get it up, and then if that doesn't work, then it's bad enough, some resurfacing or whatever. But then once I recontacted them and told them it didn't go away, there's nothing they can do now, because with all the rain that we've had, it would have done the same thing that their pressure washers would have done. So they apologized, and
So if there was something that could be done, you know, if the road needs resurfaced, or if there's some, you know, specialized cleaning process that can be done to remove it, you know, there's a strong argument that they're responsible to you for that cost. And the insurance bit's really between them and their insurer. They can file a claim or self-insure it. But fundamentally, if they cause damage to your road, they're responsible for the cost of practice.
yeah, so it's a matter of how hard you want to push it, how bad is it?
So, I mean, it looks bad, but my understanding from a previous engineer we had at one point is that on hot mix asphalt roads and oil and chip roads, petroleum products, that gas, oil, fuels, etc., when they are on those types of roads, they cause the road to start to break down. So on concrete, it is just an unsightly issue, which is Prairie View, it's not as bad where the concrete is, but Havens is where it's worse. And I was just told by an engineer that if you ever have oil or gasoline that spills onto hot mix asphalt, it will break it down. So how fast that happens and to what degree that happens, I don't know those answers, but that's just something that somebody told me, an engineer told me from Farnsworth at one time, and stuck in my mind that, hey, this isn't good for the road when this happens.
So it's not an issue.
So I guess my take at this point is there's no immediate damage other than unsightliness at this point in time, so whether there will be in the future or not, I don't know.
But they could be at least responsible for coming out and trying to wash it off.
And it's rained several times, and the rain's done nothing to lessen it.
Okay, so next step, do we need to set a date that, if we're gonna approve this, do we need to do that have with the one revision of an extra dumpster for the fire station in November?
Yes.
Okay. Do I-
You wanna go ahead and make that
Yeah.
motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve the request for proposal, with the one revision of adding a dumpster in November at the fire station.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the, recycling or garbage, solid waste recycling program. Are there any last questions before we vote? Not Allison?
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kathy Brooks,
Yes.
Jim Campbell,
Yes.
Lynn Norris,
Yes,
Bill Morris,
Yes.
Mark Patty.
Yes.
Before we move on, I wanna thank Lynn for working on this. You haven't been on the board long and you did a great job. You got everything we wanted, so thank you.
okay, and then to schedule, do I just get together with, or do we have to talk about it?
I think you and Allison have to be there when we open the bids. I think you two can set the date for that, so.
Then my next one was our purchasing manual. What our current purchasing manual is outdated slightly. So I feel like we have three options, right? Revise what we have, or simplify it. We could do a purchasing ordinance or adopt a spending policy that's also an ordinance, that we have to change, make an ordinance for? Yes.
Yes.
So I sent everybody current and then the two samples of options, so I'm open to suggestions, I just wanna know what we want to work on next.
I like the spending policy one.
Okay,
I like
short and sweet.
short and sweet. These are your parameters. If it's something outside that, it goes to the board.
What are the thoughts of the other trustees?
I feel the same way. It's a simple policy, it's easy to understand, and I think that setting those parameters, it, you know, makes it just so much less work for everybody, because they know what they're allowed to do.
I agree.
Okay, I'll give it to you and we'll work on it.
Okay, you wanna go ahead and work with that then? See if we can adopt that?
Yep. That's
Lynn, you got anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Next, street department, Bill.
Okay, my business, I forgot to put MFT on the agenda. So, Danny, I'll take the hit for that. So we'll take care of that on the 19th, I guess. And, I really don't have any other business, but I do wanna thank Denny and Jeff and Tyler, part-time help, getting all the branches cleared up in town. I think they did a great job fighting the weather. It seemed like when we could have our truck available, the weather wouldn't let us dump our limbs down at the pond where we burn them, so we were always fighting something. So I wanna thank our crew and then thank the township crew, Jeff Emmert and his people. I mean, it just made things so much easier for our guys to go on about their business now. And like Denny said, the limbs are still coming out to the curb, so, we'll be fighting that for a while, I'm sure. So, Ian, I wanna congratulate anyone that was elected. Lynn, Dave, Allison. So, and Mark. So, good luck.
I know you see that. Good, Bill.
So, anyhow, we'll get along fine. Okay, I really don't have anything else, so I won't take any more of your time. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Phil. Next ordinance and zoning, Kathy?
Well, I don't really have anything pertaining to zoning and ordinance and zoning. No, I have not been drinking. But Richard's here, and he's the chairman of the planning commission, and they had a meeting a week ago Monday. So if, I would like for him to give an update.
So basically, our January meeting got postponed just with all the rules and regulations, and we had a couple guys that couldn't make it. So we wouldn't have had a quorum to meet, so we postponed that till last week, as Kathy said. And so we had a pretty long layoff, and I think we must have had a lot of time to germinate ideas, because we had a lot of discussion in there, and not necessarily, we made a progress, but we really didn't advance far down our list for the next phase. But I think right now we're well ahead of what we have out there now that needs to get done. So I don't think that was a big deal. There's some good questions that came up, and I posted them out to numerous ones of the board employees, and I got answers back on all those. So I got those passed along to the rest of the board, or the rest of the planning commission, so they're well aware of what's going on. So at this point, I'd say after the next meeting, we'll have our next phase of plan completed, and we'll bring that in and present what we're looking at on the next phase. And also looking, if you guys want to, when you get a chance to look it over, see where we're at, and if there's anything that needs to come back to us to revisit, or question wise, or where we need to be with that, we're good to go. So we have had a good session. We missed Kathy this session, but Kathy's usually our litmus. She keeps us grounded, so it's good dialogue back and forth. That's pretty much the only person that comes on the floor, so it's good to get that feedback. I do have two other things. One is, it's great to see somebody interested in being on the board. I know how many you guys have all been involved, but we've tried to get people on the board and committees, and nobody is interested. So kudos to you. I'm in his court. That's good. Somebody interested. We always seem to have a better fit. The other question I have is the thing come up about the conflict of interest on the septic, on the sand filter. When this came up when Dan Moffio was the mayor, you told him and everybody there that just because you live there was no conflict of interest. And so now Kathy's questioning that. So I was wondering what changed in that time.
We're talking about substantively different action items. So my opinion today was my suggestion was that you get an opinion from the attorney you hired to give you opinions on that proposition. Prior matters and opinions would have been related to the specific issue that the board was voting on at that time. So
Which was taking over, not just giving them money, but taking that over as an entity. So
yeah,
it seems to me that's a little bit more.
Yeah, and I didn't render an opinion today. I told the board to get an opinion from the attorney you hired to give you an opinion on that topic. So.
Right, so I just wondered what the difference was. Is it just because of what the topic conversation is?
For one, yeah, every conflict of interest question is dependent upon the question that's presented.
Correct.
So just because it involves the same entity doesn't mean it presents the same question. Second is, I didn't give an opinion today. It seems you're conflating two issues. Today, what I said was there's a question raised that I'm not your attorney for, but that could have a conflict of interest implication, and get an opinion from the attorney you hired. Prior opinions I've given the board, and I don't recall, I recall I don't ever recall there was a time Dan voted on a proposition of taking over the association, so I'm not sure what vote you're talking about where I rendered an opinion at a board meeting on a specific vote, so I can't speak to that specific issue, but I can tell you that rendering an opinion in the past on an issue related to the homeowners association isn't incongruous with me telling the board, get an opinion from your special counsel on a matter related to that special topic. So.
Okay.
Richard, thank you. I want to thank you and the planning committee for everything you're doing and the meetings and the time and effort you're putting into the village and the direction of Hudson. It's making a good difference. So thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is the Water Department, Trustee Joe.
Mark was actually.
Mark.
Sorry.
Hey, you can go first if you want.
Jumping again here.
There you go.
Sorry, Mark.
That's okay. I don't have a whole lot to add other than what Dale has already said, except to point out and really thank Dale for the time that we spent together working on the police budget this year. It really was a year that we had to review, analyze, and make a lot of cuts to the police department's budget. And so we were successful and were able to cut those fundings out and expenses. With the comment that I just want to understand, I don't know if that would be sustainable every year to do that. Because right now, we're right at the lowest we could be and still provide a service level. So, but thanks Dale, he has some great spreadsheets that he showed me, and we could plug in the numbers and run everything. And so it worked out in the end, but a lot of work went into the police department's budget, so thanks Dale.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that too earlier. I think I tried to define it in one of the emails I sent out.
You did,
but,
yes.
We're not where we'd like to be, but I think it's gonna take more discussion and decision on where we wanna go. Was that it, Mark?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, that's it.
That's okay. I didn't wanna cut you off again.
That's okay.
Okay, Joe, go ahead.
So we've talked about this in previous meetings, I think, Jeff's idea that we should put a $250 a month bill, on the $250 a month fee on everyone's water bill to pay for the future meter replacements. I don't know if anybody has questions or not, I think we have talked about it before. It's a good thing that it's a fee that's actually calling out exactly what it's gonna be spent on, right? I mean, it's clear to the residents of what it's gonna be used for. So I prefer that kind of a thing instead of just trying to increase the cost per gallon or something and hide it in there. I don't know if anybody else wants to discuss any other.
Anybody have any questions or additional discussion items?
I think the next one idea.
All right, Joe,
Make a motion to vote on adding a $250 fee to the water bills
for the purpose of,
replacing water meters as they wear out.
I have a second. Have a second? Any last questions? Olson?
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kathy Brooks,
Yes.
Tim Campbell,
Yes.
Lynn Norris,
Yes.
Bill Morris,
Yeah.
Mark Toddy.
Yes.
Okay, Sarah and Carol, I hope you will drive the discussions with our vendors to see what it takes to get that added. Thank you. Joe, you have anything else?
No.
Okay, next we got public property, Jim.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Two things. One, Dave, I told you earlier that, I didn't want to run. Mainly, I didn't tell you, but I knew I'd only get one vote mine, which means Christie wouldn't even vote for me. And, my ego couldn't handle that. But I was willing to stay on if you guys need somebody, and maybe this is your chance to get rid of me, I don't know. And then the other request with that is that this guy here has to let me win in golf if I stay in, because I'm tired of not winning. But the other thing, though, we talked about a key, for the bathrooms, and I didn't know if the coaching, on a night that they were, because they're local people, right? So if the night that the games were, completed, as the coaches leave and they lock the bathrooms, that might just be something, and I don't want to stick it, but on Shane or anybody, but I know that they usually kind of clean up after themselves anyway, so maybe that would be something that we could do. So, something to think about.
That'd be a good option. Okay, thank you, Jim. Okay, next item is the liquor commissioner report, which happens to be me. We did issue partial refunds to Country Squire and to Sitting Bull for the 2 weeks that they were closed last fall when Governor Pritzker ordered the state to be shut down again. And those refunds went out. I don't think there'll be a third refund check to the bars. I wanted to wait until we're pretty confident they wouldn't have to close again before we sent out the second check. So those have gone out to the bars. That's it for liquor commissioner report. Next item on the agenda is moving to closed session if needed. We did not have anything on the agenda for this, but we do have a performance discussion that we have to have, and we need to do it tonight. So, I'm going to ask the trustees to adjourn the meeting to move into closed session. And the trustees and Allison and Pat and I will all move over to the conference room over there for our closed session discussion. So can we have a meeting to adjourn to move into closed session?
I'll make a motion, we move into closed session.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second, Allison?
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kathy Brooks,
Yes.
Jim Campbell.
Yes.
Lynn Norris.
Yes.
Bill Morris.
Yes.
Mark Hyde.
Yes.
Okay, let's move over to the conference room. To the employees